It's all coming to an end.
This is the end of all things Titan Week!
Did you survive Titan Week on KHANTENT?
Let the world know by clicking the Teespring link in the description and buying a shirt that tells the world about it. And go to Subscribestar and get our bonus episodes, including our super secret Attack on Titan bonus episode that we already told you what it is. Although there is some extra content in there about interviews and whatnot that is an extra little flair.
We talked about the real show too a little bit. So
that's true. So go check that out for $10. And now, let's die one last time. Run for your lives! It's Titan Week! Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTENT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything.
KHANTENT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTENT logo.
Or this.
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTENT! And right now, get yourself the I Survived Titan Week t-shirt. Unless you don't want to survive Titan Week, but hey, that's between you and Jesus. They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTENT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTENT. KHANTENT!
向こうにいる敵全部殺せば俺たち自由になれるのか
Here we are, the end of season 3, and I am beginning to see why Gigak felt a need to put this as a big thumbnail in a video about how Attack on Titan is in fact cool, because it is in fact pretty cool.
First of all, we have to address the elephant in the room of the Burger Boy. We were quite sad in the last episode, but right away we're treated to one of the most emotionally intense scenes in the show. One of the, I'm not going to say it's one of the best setups in terms of how we arrive there, because it's a little funny that a red-haired guy just kind of shows up on the roof, carting Erwin along with him.
I know his name now because I like that guy. It's in one of my 1,000 pages I took during this batch of incredibly dense episodes. That man's name is Flock.
Yes, so Flock, we've got a situation, Armin's about
aftermath of the last battle, people
seemingly
are fucked.
dead, but turns out he's still breathing.
We get the little thing of
you predicted this.
Now, I mean, frankly, I knew this was the case already. I knew spoilers, people. I'm sorry. Is it a fucking sin? I apologize.
I didn't know. I had no. I didn't. Was none the wiser. And so,
I didn't spoil it for you. Aren't I a good person?
So Armin coughs up his soot and he's still alive.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. Well, that's easy. We're just gonna inject it with the Titan stuff. But then, here comes the other guy with Erwin, and he's like, everyone in the room, except for, of course, Eren and Mikasa, who are Armin's best friends, is like, we gotta save Erwin.
Well, because
Fuck
why?
Armin.
Here it comes, baby. We had mentioned last time the needle, the syringe that can turn someone into a Titan, and then if you eat a Titan shifter, then you have that. Now, we've got 2 available to us right now, Reiner and Bert. But, like, the first thing that fucking happens is that Reiner just gets snatched up and fucking carried away. If they had not allowed Reiner to been taken away in this way, they could have used half the spinal fluid, because we saw a guy turn into a Titan after licking just a tiny little bit. So I'm sure they could have saved both if Hanji and the gang didn't fuck up so unbelievably horribly to let Reiner get saved by Zeke in the last moment.
Hanji fucked up because her partner finally, we confirmed, did die in that gigantic explosion.
I knew it was coming.
And it's interesting that isn't revealed until after we've seen her kind of acting funny and characters pointing that out.
The way that was done was great, because that reveal comes when we've now got a choice. Save Erwin or save Armin. Incredible drama. The way that it's built up, at first they're like, oh, Armin's here. Okay, we're going to save him because obviously we need to. But then Erwin shows up, and then Levi, who has to make the decision, is forced into the situation.
And Levi, of course, immediately is like pro Erwin at first.
Obviously.
And, I also think it's interesting to note that Eren and Armin and Levi and Erwin are the two most popular ships from this show.
Oh yeah.
Most popular couple ideas. I think the author has said something to the effect of that his favorite ship is the Eren and Armin ship, and apparently they're in the anime. They like swapped Armin out for Mikasa in a bunch of scenes. I don't know if that's to like make it seem less gay.
For more fun? Oh, you mean they replaced Mikasa in those scenes from the manga?
No, Armin was taken out and Mikasa was put in.
Okay,
in
right.
In various scenes, I guess.
Wouldn't that imply that the original manga was like less into that shipping? That
no,
if
it was more into it because Armin was just around Eren more often.
No, I'm thinking of it backwards. Yes, you're right. You're right. Okay, they erased. This is gay erasure in its worst form. Right.
Gay erasure in Attack on Titan. So you got two guys. Both their gay lovers are on the outs, and Levi's like, nah, I get mine. But then, even though like he makes a convincing argument to Mikasa for why Erwin is just like, look, I like how long this takes because the characters are all trying to make arguments for why. Like there are legitimate reasons to think Armin's the right one to save. You know, he, as Eren points out, he solved all these problems and all these big situations, and Erwin himself was like positioning Armin to be the next guy. You know, so I would have to assume that's what he would have made the same decision.
Maybe
he had opportunities to potentially turn himself into a Titan. Granted, he didn't. You know, they didn't know that they were going to have somebody there to eat.
You said that. I totally disagree that he had opportunities to turn himself into a Titan. If you mean during this battle, because I mean, Levi was there with the needle. Erwin like turned away and is like, I'm going to go now and charge into battle and be ready to die. And then the next time they're together is when that redheaded guy, whatever Flock, had carried him, and Levi had assumed he was dead by that point. Right. So I think it's very clear that there was no opportunity up to this choice.
I guess I mean to say that like if I guess he did give the needle to Levi.
It was
Levi's
mission.
It just seems like he would have kept the needle on him if it was something he would have intended. Like if he had any intention ever of like being the one. You know, as opposed to leaving it to somebody else. Like,
well, because we have to. Well, okay. Before we talk about the end of the choice, again, I appreciate everyone starts to catch feelings in a big way, and Mikasa straight up attacks Levi, who is in a weakened state after all the Naruto shit he's been doing, and like is overpowering him until everyone else is like, "Oh my God, Mikasa, you need to stop." Hanji, who thinks Erwin's the right one to save, pulls her back and is like, Mikasa, you need to understand, we've all had friends die. You cannot be a retarded idiot. Mikasa doesn't use her power that responsibly a lot of the time. She's a pretty selfish person. She's not thinking large end goal here. No. She's thinking, I want to protect friends.
She just doesn't care about anything but her friends.
This is what happens when you give a woman superpowers. This is how it goes down. And Hanji gives the little anecdote of, the guy that I was saying, this man's been marked for death. The rest of her squad's been marked out. He has not had enough personality to survive. Like, revealed dramatically, he saved Hanji in this moment, and he got killed while he pushed her into a well or whatever, which is what I had suspected had happened.
I like the line where Hanji's like, I'm barely holding on to any sanity right now.
Yeah, after all
literally
this shit.
Me at all times.
After all the death and destruction happening around them, they've just had to, like, cut up their fucking best friends for years, cut them out of fucking Titans, and now, like, Hanji's, like, torturing Reiner to get information. And Hanji had the opportunity to kill Reiner, but just fucked up and got snatched away by Zeke and the fucking horse Titan thing. What a nightmare that thing is. So it comes down to it. There's just this. I love the debate. The whole episode basically is this debate. Everyone's making their points, and the logical choice, the obvious choice, seems to be Levi. And I appreciate.
Erwin.
It needs to be Erwin, that's right. I appreciate that they really make it crystal clear. It is Levi's decision. All of the distractions are pulled away. We've heard the case. What's it going to be? Yeah. And he picks Armin.
Well, he's about to inject Erwin, and Erwin like slaps it away, just like it's because he's raising his hand to ask.
Sensei, is there really no other people outside the walls? Father, dad, teacher.
And so.
And by the way, and that red-haired guy. His motivation, so he was the one guy we saw survive the battle. He had picked up the mangled body of Erwin, carried him off the battlefield, but on the battlefield before Flock brought him, he had his sword to his throat, and he was like, I think I'm just going to kill my commander because he put me in this fucking situation to die with all my friends. But he was like, no. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drag his fucking fat ass to Levi, where he's going to revive this motherfucker so he can suffer another day with the rest of us in the living world. He doesn't deserve to rest yet. This is his motivation to do it.
But Levi seemingly comes to the other decision because he like remembers a bunch of stuff about Erwin, and I guess is just kind of like, you know what? I know this motherfucker wants to die, so let's just let him. I don't know.
Okay, see, we have to in future episodes the consequences of this choice are discussed, but let's just condense it here because this is the debate: who to choose? Levi, who seems to have every incentive in the world to choose our Erwin because he's his commander. We know he trusts him. Erwin's a badass. He's been so far by far the most effective man at pushing back. You can tie everything good that's happened to Erwin's command, to Erwin's initiative and whatnot, and his drive to succeed. Armin has had a handful of very useful strategic successes under his belt that have made a big difference. But between the two, who is like more important to the effort? There's a good debate to be had. I would definitely put my money on Erwin. Now, I kind of feel like there is that desire. Armin is one of our main characters. He's one of the three poster children. And also, what a big twist it would be if we don't save the obvious choice. We save the other guy.
Which I didn't know. I was legit like, I have no idea which one they're going to pick. It would be even more dramatic to have Armin like seemingly be able to come back and then die anyway. It would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was once Erwin was entered into the equation, I felt like it's more likely going to be Armin.
Yeah.
But it's still surprising to see like Levi make the decision himself, even if his logic might be questionable.
That's the thing. I can't help myself. Levi's motivation is specifically, as you said, like my reason I did this was there was a couple reasons, but the main one was I feel like his days of fighting are over. I want to let him rest. I don't want to throw him back into the fray. I feel like he's earned like this death. It's just that like the last thing Erwin's been saying is like, my dream is to get into the basement. I just want to know what's going on. So it kind of feels like everything, this idea of like, Erwin, he had no reason to live anymore. That's not true.
Right,
he had massive reasons to survive, even just like 10 more minutes to get to the fucking basement. I know that this choice is a big emotional linchpin that's meant to be discussed like we're doing now. Yeah. I still can't help but feel like an illogical, weird choice was made, possibly for the sake of making it more narratively interesting.
I could maybe think like Erwin's making the decision to sacrifice his dream was like maybe something that
a final choice, sacrifice,
like just a more defining moment. Like maybe I don't really know.
But do you mean narratively or like for the character? Because on both counts, I still don't really see.
I'm really stretching to try to justify why I think this makes any kind of sense.
To the credit of Isayama, like other characters continue for the next several episodes to all be like, no, we all think Erwin should have lived. Yeah. This fucking twink, he was a
Armin
cool guy.
himself thinks Erwin should have lived. I mean, the best argument I can give is just simply that Erwin himself probably would have picked Armin. But, like, A, that's unknowable, and B, that doesn't necessarily mean he would have been right to do so.
Yeah, even, like this idea that Levi has to let Erwin off duty and, like, let him retire into death or whatever, that's not what a soldier's supposed to be. A soldier keeps fighting as long as they have the ability to march toward the goal. Mm-hmm. And just, like, it seemed like Levi let a valuable resource just slip away.
It's also possible, and maybe Levi will say more about this later, but it seems like what Eren says to him that might have reached him is Armin has this dream of seeing the ocean.
Right.
He never wanted to fight. I forgot about the fact that our dream was to go see the ocean because I got so fucking wrapped up in trying to avenge my parents. So, like, if you think of Erwin's motivation as, like, again, he just wanted to go to the basement, he was really no different from Eren. It's just this blind, raging fury towards accomplishing this goal at the cost of all these lives. And all this fighting, whereas Armin just never, he's been thrust into that situation, but never would have chosen it for himself, never has had any ambition other than just, staying alive, I guess, and seeing the ocean eventually.
I suppose that if this is to be interpreted as like what they expect to be like the final battle of this like military campaign, which it does kind of turn out to be, at least for now, I suppose you can think of like there's a man for every time and place, right? Erwin was the man to lead the war, to defeat these particular Titans and, the forces that stood in the way to get this far. But, he's a soldier, and maybe what we really need is someone with a wider scope of vision. And Armin, we have seen Erwin himself be, like, surprised by the creative outside-the-box thinking that Armin has had.
Right.
So, you know what? Look, I know the story itself says, like, look, a choice was made, deal with it. Can we please put this behind us? We need to just move on. But it's interesting to talk about why. But if you think about it on that angle, that it's Levi betting on, like, the new blood, it really comes down to, like, new blood versus old, stodgy ways of doing things, at least to a degree, even though Erwin was fairly innovative. In those terms, I can at least understand, some of the points, even though it does seem like a stretch knowing Levi's character. Yeah. If it was up to like Eren or Mikasa, it's not a problem, not a problem. But it was Levi specifically, and at least because that was the case, it makes for a very interesting discussion piece where you could probably feel both ways pretty justifiably. Great section.
Well, then we get into what I have to say is probably the worst episode of Attack on Titan, called The Basement. And why is it the worst episode? Because the first 5 minutes or so is just like Armin wakes up, reclarifies everything that just happened by literally like saying it again.
Yeah.
And then all the characters are like, all right, wrap on that. Let's get to the fucking basement. They then proceed to spend 12 minutes walking to the basement. Well, and that's the rest of the episode. They walk through the whole town, every single step, reflecting on scenes that we've seen before several times.
I used to play on that street as a boy.
Yes, we all know. We've reminisced about this many times through the show.
But now it's actually happening.
All the streets, all the characters stand around looking gloomy, staring off into the distance for a while. They pick around in the dirt, like look at some pottery, clinkle some dishes together. Just literally taking as long as possible to get to the fucking basement so that we can get slowly to this reveal. Oh, the door's broken. The key's not even for the door. Don't worry about it.
The key doesn't even need to be used.
We're in the room. Fuck. We're in the office now. Okay, we've made it into the basement.
We're there.
But it's just an office. Is there anything special in here? Okay, we've got a key. We'll put it into the drawer, and there's notebooks. Okay, notebooks. All right. Flash forward. Characters are already back at home. So, all right, what was in the notebooks? What did they read? What did they learn? And like right at the end of the episode, it's like
post-credit sequence.
There's people beyond the walls.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of guessed that already because Eren's dad had been walking around outside the walls when he was found. Like,
I think, that's a logical conclusion.
Wouldn't the beast village or whatever be outside the walls somewhere? Those Titans turn into people. Those are people.
They've mentioned a village.
So I had a point where I started to think, I wonder if this all takes place on an island somewhere. Because one of the things that was the weirdest to me about this show, way back when it first aired, was just the idea that the entire world is inside of these walls.
It's often been a good question, how big is it really inside the walls? I don't know.
It's not, doesn't seem that big.
I guess not.
Based on just the structure of it.
But think of it, it took them like days to ride around the outside of the walls. Like, we could probably calculate the speed of a horse.
I guess what I mean to say is that from the start, because of the fact that humanity has been inside these walls for 100 years, the real question is, how the fuck would they know? Like,
are you sure?
They've been locked up all this time. They got no idea.
Their memories were literally erased, so they wouldn't have any know. Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that I assumed there were humans beyond the walls, but that idea just didn't seem like a massive revelation because there's just so much conspiracy. It's kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, who else? We already examined everyone within the walls. Who else could it be but someone outside the walls?
So we're at the point of the grand reveal. Like, oh, does it live up to the hype? It comes in stages. First of all,
it does come in stages.
Yeah, over several episodes, actually, all the information
is
broken down.
Which is why it's so infuriating that they spend a whole episode hyping you to the basement. Because, like, I wouldn't even mind. I don't care about, like, the fact that the reveal is what it is, because I wasn't, like, waiting with bated breath for the basement reveal. but they obviously thought I was, because they then made me wait with bated breath for the basement reveal.
I thought there was a bunch of clever things. First of all, I was in no way bothered as much as you were by a slow episode, because I was right there with, I think, the writer and the audience. I can imagine watching this as it's coming out, episode by episode. First of all, I didn't feel the sense of urgency knowing, like, the episodes are already out, they're on a hard drive, we're watching right now, I'm gonna get through them soon. So I was able to feel a little more patience with it. And I was thinking a lot of my own experience watching the show, reading the manga, not knowing what was in the basement. And I enjoyed slowing down and watching the characters just emote. When you just relax and you say, I'm gonna find out the information at its own pace, you know, you're going to take your time. This is a fine time to reflect. This is the moment to think back on the big journey now that we've won the war, basically. So, whatever. Point is, I didn't mind it that much. I kind of enjoyed the relaxing tone. You said at one point, like, they get to the house where, Eren's mom was killed by the Titan and all that crazy shit. And there's just a moment of, like, silence as they're just picking up plates.
Yeah.
Plate moment. I kind of like that a lot. I was kind of vibing with it.
I was like grinding my teeth. I was like, please.
Okay, different approaches, obviously. Okay, but then they start to get into the basement. They've pulled off the debris. First of all, there's the big moment where we think, Jesus Christ, when they just kick open the door because the wood's rotted. We didn't even need the fucking key. But then they deliver on it, because inside on the desk, you do need the key to get into this drawer, even though you could definitely just break open the desk if you want to. The key, it was never about the specific usage of the key. There would have been ways around it, unless it was made of unobtainium or some shit. And inside is information that we then dole out. Okay. And this is where we cut to the whole flashback sequence of Eren's dad, who apparently, this just clearly is the case. He never had amnesia at all. Those were lies. He knew all this stuff all along, or else how else would he have written these fucking journals? That must be the case, or otherwise these wouldn't exist. And on the end of this episode is a stinger of a photograph. And what does a photograph imply? First of all, it's clearly Grisha with a woman and a child that has blonde hair, so we know that that isn't Eren, and it is a photograph. Now, in the world of the walls, they do not have access to photograph technology. They do not know what this is. So this immediately implies technology exists, big civilization, more advanced than what's going on here, in addition to other humans exist.
So then we get the big, very dense 2-episode Grisha backstory. And so first of all, we learn that, okay, if I'm understanding this correctly, there are Titans throughout the world, but they're not, or no.
No.
There are 7, there's one primal Titan that split into 7 Titans.
They start with this point, that there was, according to the lore, that everyone seems to agree on this, we're getting lore dumps now, there was an original Titan named Ymir. Where have we heard that name before? A character was given that name in the past in the cult or whatever. Okay, cool. We now see that thing passed on its power to, they say, 9 Titans. There's like 9 special Titans or something. And furthermore, every person that descends from them is known as a child of Eldia. Oh, no, sorry, a subject of Ymir. Where have we heard that subject of Ymir for? In that first OVA, a Titan was bowing to Ilse or whatever in that OVA. And just thinking back to that, I'm trying to, now that we know what's going on basically, that they're all Eldians. These people are Eldians, and every Eldian is related to Ymir and has the potential to turn into a Titan, that the other human beings do not have that power. That's my understanding.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
So just thinking back to that OVA, why did a random Titan bow to another Survey Corps member just knowing that they are both, in fact, subjects of Ymir, because you have to be one if you are a Titan? I guess because that thing wasn't abnormal and it just acted weird. Because there's another factor here. They talk a little bit about how, this is doled out over episodes, but we're just learning there's weird mystical shit going on here with Titans. Because specifically, those 9 Titans, that like power gets reincarnated into different Ymir Eldian people. And like if you die and you're, the Colossal Titan or whatever it is, that power will just be reincarnated somewhere else in another Eldian, proving its real magic. This isn't some biological shit. There is a mystical force combining these people.
There's something called the coordinate, and everything goes back to it.
Makes me wonder if you killed Eren, who seems to have that power right now, with no descendants and he wasn't eaten, would that eliminate, like, all Titan powers if you destroy that coordinate? That seems to be the crucial factor here. I do not know. Okay, so that lore dump is very interesting. So Grisha and his family.
The last chapter of Titan is just going to be Eren realizing that he just had to kill himself at the very start, and it all would have been prevented.
Well, Eren's attitudes towards all these things are changing rapidly with this information, but we'll get to that. Oh, and by the way, I have to now shit on Attack of Titan endlessly because how is this information doled out? Okay, to the rest of the characters, it's all in the journals that Grisha wrote down. But Eren specifically is getting memory visions of his dad. Now, I guess the way that's presented is like, Grisha just like narrating things that happened in the past. We're seeing flashbacks. So I'm not sure how much of that information is supposed to be just from the journals, how much is Eren's mind. But it sure is convenient that only now, after the plot reveal, now Eren starts to remember this part of his dad's history.
Maybe the journals help to trigger something.
That is theoretically possible.
It seems like also when he touches Historia again, he has even more memory flashes.
That's totally fine, and that's true. But he
that
didn't
makes
do
me wonder, why don't they just like have him like keep touching her until he has like all the memories available?
Well, I can tell you why they're not doing that, because Eren has kept that particular thing that's happening just to himself.
Well, now he is, but I meant before, like all this time. Like
I don't think
they
he
know
put that together.
Touching her, well, because she had touched him before in the cave to like cause him to have memories in the first place.
That's
so,
true.
So like he knows that her touching him causes memory thing. Like, just keep doing it.
Okay, you know, I feel justified in defending the show that isn't an issue, because I'm thinking like any normal bystander would, like observing these, and I never put together that that's like a specific thing that like would definitely happen if they combined these two. I thought that like that must be the king doing something on purpose. Now that you say that, I think that you are correct, that like they should put together that,
I thought the king literally said like, if somebody from the royal bloodline touches like somebody from this thing, then it will cause this thing, and that's what happened.
You know, I guess you're right. And maybe more will come of that as we go on, because Krista would probably know, or Historia would notice like when they touch like the sparks and the information and all that stuff. I don't know. Oh, because she also has a moment where she's been given a letter from, I mean, this is a little bit later, but she gets that letter from Ymir Reiner brought, and she clearly has some weird schizo, like, memory flashback thing just from touching this paper. What's that about exactly? We know that she's related because she's the bloodline of the royals or whatever, but I don't exactly get why that happened. I'm sure we'll get into that in time. Okay, coming back to our boy Grisha, whatever. So he, in his flashback, we first see him as a child in what we learn to be an internment camp for Eldians within a city in this, I guess, nation called Marley or whatever. So they're just, I mean, you know, they wear the armbands. It's very like Jew coded in like concentration camps or internment camps, I guess. That they are like a persecuted minority in the entire rest of the outside world, I guess. Yeah. But they are kept there by the government, I think because it is implied that the Marley government was once the subjects of Ymir and like this vast empire of Titans that controlled like the entire world at one point using, you know, amazing Titan powers, which is sure filling in my brain when I think back to a lot of those opening, you know, like the art images we saw of like people being walked along as Titans like stand over them. Like, what did all this mean? I guess it meant things of like Ymir's kingdom or something.
I know the season 2 ED goes into a bunch of deep lore about the series.
Yeah,
People keep telling us to talk about it. We'll talk about it once we understand it.
I don't understand it yet. I might know one or two things in there, but I don't know the full details. This is new information for me, that like this kingdom existed and it used to be controlled by Titans. So after 1,700 years of Ymir Titan people control, apparently Marley and maybe other kingdoms or whatever, they stole 7 of the 9 Titan powers and used that to overthrow like the Eldian Empire or whatever. And that's why our boys are not in control. And they've got, I guess, two things. They've got at least the one ghetto where Grisha and his family were in some city somewhere. And there's also Paradise Island. And that is where our entire story has taken place up to this point, where they, in the flashback where we saw Ymir being thrown off a thing, turned into a Titan, and released on that island, that is the island, which implies that Ymir wasn't from the island. She was brought there from somewhere else.
She had said something about being, like, brought from somewhere. But if she's been keeping this secret the whole time, then goddamn, she's good at it. I mean, like...
Yeah.
Did the other Titan Transformers know? Probably.
Well, Bert and Reiner... I mean, we now, if you're from anywhere that isn't, like, within the Wall Kingdom, you must be from, like, way far away across the sea somewhere.
Right.
It's the only thing that would make sense. I mean, it's really like a contained little world on that island.
We're told that, like, all kinds of people, women, children, everything, had their fingers cut off and turned into Titans and thrown onto this island, just routinely for years. So.
Specifically, if you violate certain boundaries, because we see Grisha, they're kids, they're in this walled-in part of the city or whatever. They break out just to go look at a Zeppelin, just some kids. We want to go look at a Zeppelin. But on the way, they run past some guards. The guards find them there. They don't have like their papers. They're not supposed to be out there. So they beat the shit out of Grisha because he's like man enough to admit that he made a mistake or whatever. But his sister, who he's with, just gets literally thrown to the dogs and is killed for fun.
Yeah, it must be clarified that, like, had Grisha been out without the armband, he would have been sent to Paradise.
Right, that was the point I was making. If you infringe and you, like, try to pretend you're not Eldian or any of this stuff, then the punishment seems to be...
But, the sister is killed just because one of the guards wanted to do it. He says later he fed the sister to his children's dogs to steal himself. Because he's constantly trying to remind himself how fucked up the world is, and so he tries to be even more fucked up so that he's ready for how fucked up the world is.
And I think specifically, like, his motivation, this is very interesting stuff we're getting into. His motivation is that, like, he's been told the history that the Eldians, like, were slavers. They, like, forcibly bred and, like, raped and, like, massacred and genocided all these populations with their OP Titan powers. Certainly possible that was true. And so I don't think he would do this to like a Marley person. I think he specifically does it to Eldians because the Eldians are potential nightmare monsters. He makes the point that, like, bro, all I have to do is like sprinkle a little Titan like fluid on you and you will turn into like a horrible monster and kill me and everyone I know. Right. Of course, they're not big fans of those people. So at this point, it's getting kind of understandable to a certain degree why the people are not big fans of the Eldian race as a whole.
Well,
does that mean everything that was done in this justified? No, I'm not saying that, but it's raising some interesting questions.
Yeah. So throughout Grisha's life, because his sister was killed and his parents are just cogs in the machine, keeping their heads down as much as they can, he forms an underground resistant movement at the behest of someone called Owl, I think.
Yeah, Owl is their informant from the government.
Yes.
That's right.
So he just gets these sort of words from Owl and leads some people. He has a wife. They have a kid.
Now, that wife is a very important person.
Yes, she's noble. She's a nobility.
So she's got, like, this, whatever that generic magic is, she's got the same thing Historia's got.
Yes.
So plot-relevant stuff.
So they have a kid. I believe this kid is the Beast Titan, right?
It's Zeke. It's my boy War Chief Zeke. Yeah.
So this means that he is Eren's half-brother, his big half-brother. Wow!
Oh, and I didn't even, at the very beginning, like, he did this little thing where he when he was face-to-face with Eren for that one brief moment as they were escaping, he's like, oh, your father brainwashed you. Like, you deserve to know the truth. And looking back on it, Zeke must know that they're half-brothers. And, like, from because Zeke turns informant on his parents, their friends.
So he at like 5 or 6 years old, his parents, because they raised him with nothing but, like, you are going to be the one, you're going to lead the resistance, you're going to become a Titan, you're going to do all this shit.
He's a Titan, man. He's the fucking chosen one.
They're just like, you're so important, and, but you got to pretend to be within the system. And I guess he pretended really well.
He pretended too hard.
Yeah, and sold out his family and all their friends.
I mean, I like to think I can spot a Chad when I see one, but he's a fucking narc. He's a fucking snitch.
Well, maybe he grew up to regret these decisions.
But he's Well, the fact that he says to Eren in that moment, looking back on it now, like, your father brainwashed you. He like tricked you into this lifestyle of like doing all these things. Yeah. I think that seems to imply he like is still propagandized by the Marleyans. And for the record, maybe the Marleyans are literally correct that the Eldian history.
It's hard to know who's
this
right
is the
in the
debate
situation.
Now. Because Grisha like joining this underground movement to like help the Eldians rise or whatever it is, like. He's learning what he calls the true history, that actually the subjects of Ymir, like the Eldian people, they built like a benevolent society that like helped everybody, and it was maybe the Marleyans literally just got jealous or wanted to, you know, seize power for whatever nefarious means. Would love to know more about that conflict there, and to know kind of like, is it justified what's being done to the Eldians to any degree? Because there's always this concept of like power corrupts. If you have power, you're probably going to, you know, lean on people who don't have it. And so, I mean, I want to know more about that. It's fascinating.
家庭を持て。は？妻でも子供でも町の人でもいい。壁の中で人を愛せ。それができなければ繰り返すだけだ。同じ歴史を、同じ過ちを何度も。ミカサやアルミン、みんなを救いたいなら使命を全うしろ。ミカサ？アルミン？誰のことだ？さあ、わからない。誰の記憶だろう。
Well, so he gets brought up to the wall. All of the dissidents get turned into Titans and thrown over into the desert, including his wife, who...
The royal princess lady.
Oh my god, it's a very recognizable Titan.
Oh.
It's the one that ate Eren's mom. What incredible dramatic irony. This is probably the cheesiest thing that's happened in the show.
I had heard that there was some importance to that Titan in the past. Now I understand what that importance was. We need to take a few steps back here and analyze what happened here.
I'm going to bet that this decision, that the author knew this was going to happen from at least the point when Eren did stop this Titan.
Yes, when he gained the coordinator powers or something.
Because I can't imagine that that even this Titan was originally planned to like
be anything. In chapter 1
just
or whatever,
looks like some random Titan. But now we learn that it's super important. I gotta say, this is a problem that kind of happens with lots of very plot-driven shows, is the tendency to try to want to make everything connected to everything else. That like, you know, people start praising the fact that you keep reincorporating things, and now all of a sudden everything's
Everyone thinks every moment is a 10 out of like a 10,000 IQ play, right? But oftentimes it's actually convenient writing, and it's normal to be like, well, that's kind of cheesy that you made this the same thing.
It's funny too, because as we were heading towards the scene, there's a part where there's a guy whose eyes kind of looked like Moe Titan.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were speculating, like...
We were hyped.
Yeah, we were like,
here
oh,
he
what
comes.
if this guy becomes Moe Titan? I don't even think it was that guy.
A different guy becomes the Moe Titan.
But we do see origin of Moe Titan.
That's fine. That was good.
But then we also have it be the other one as well at the same time.
There's a distinction. There is nothing wrong.
Sassy Titan was there too.
It looked like it. Look, there's nothing wrong with having like one of these Titans be like a fun, recognizable Titan in the past. It's like, oh, that's fun. Now we know exactly who that guy was. It could have been a character we even like got to know a little bit. That is fine. But what sometimes it just feels a bit much. You can feel them laying it on too thick. Is when like all the Titans came from like this one batch, because now we have to ask the question, does it make sense that these Titans were at the time and places we knew they were? Some of them, this is why you can get away with one, no problem. One is not a problem. But 2 or 3 or 4, it's like, okay. So, because episode 1, we see several of these Titans. Moe Titan was from episode 3 and that whole fight, right? Okay, so whatever. Some of the Titans show up at different places. That's all fine. And we know all these Titans are on an island. So there's nowhere for them to go. They've got to head towards the walls at some place. But again, the walls are really big, and there are lots of Titans. What are the odds that these specific Titans would be here? And the biggest one, obviously, is this one, like, Zeke's mom, Eren's, like, not mother, but, like, a mother through his dad, whatever, happened to be the Titan that ate his mom, and like was the beginning of his entire character arc of like hating Titans. That's so asking me to believe so much of a coincidence when it could have been literally any other Titan.
Well, and like it's both that like okay, if they had introduced the idea that that Zeke's mom turned into a Titan and Eren, you know, coordinated with it earlier, and that's why he has the information he had, because it turns out it was a royal blood, very important because he did touch it, and therefore he got some kind of mind thing from that. That's fine. Yeah. But did it also have to be the one that ate his mom? It's just
that's
like the layering of it.
If the first time we met that Titan was when Eren awakened his power, even though if you look back at that scene, it sure was lucky that right before all Eren's friends were about to die, he happened to touch the one Titan among like billions that happened to be the one that would awaken it. Okay, like that, look, if you look back, it's a little fucking cheesy, but it's fine. That's what these shows are about. Literally just introduce it there. That's the right place to introduce it, making it the Titan that ate his mom. Okay, and I just want to ask one hypothetical possible explanation as to how that might make sense. Is it possible that Titan, which does say before it gets turned into a Titan, like, oh, Grisha, my love, you know, this was his wife or whatever, like, I'll come find you no matter what form I take. Are they trying to use that line as a, like, this was like a fundamental mechanism that somehow brought her, like, to where Grisha lived? Because that was Grisha's home. So
maybe
Eren is the thing is, okay, Grisha literally wasn't there. He was elsewhere at that time. So like, why doesn't it home in on his current location somewhere else? Could it smell that this is where he lived? Could she sense Eren's like scent at that place? I think that these are reasonable questions to ask, and you blew it a little bit, Isayama. Made your characters a little bit too super special, Titan. Whatever. Fuck you. Don't do that again. I'll let one pass. This was the one you get. Do not do this shit again, or I'm gonna scream and piss and shit myself. Okay. That being said,
anything else we need to say about that backstory?
Well, I guess since you touched on it, I'll just elaborate a little bit on how. So Eren's coordinator powers. He has that inside him, but he can't use it. Nobody can use it except for the royal family. So it was, you know, in that scene where he used the one coordinator thing that one time, it was specifically because that Titan was a royal family member who'd been turned into a Titan. You know, that Titan has now been killed. It was devoured in that fight by the other Titans Eren told to do it. But now we know that there is another royal available, and that being Historia, the current queen. So now we got to ask ourselves, like, because it was implied that Eren will never be able to use coordinator powers. It's only a thing royals can do. But now, if he has Historia, he clearly has the potential to use it and do whatever the fuck he wants. So, like, this makes Historia far more of a relevant character than, like, I thought she was going to be. Because at the moment, there's her and there's Zeke. These are the only two characters in the story that have royal blood. Maybe like Eren will get eaten by Zeke. Actually, I guess that's literally what they're trying to do, so that they'll be able to control all Titans and whatnot. Okay, whatever. That's enough on that subject.
Well, so they have a big meeting about it, and then they go out to the ocean, and they finally see the fucking ocean, and it's beautiful. And now we're gonna assumably cross it, be off this island. Are we even gonna be fighting Titans anymore?
I don't.
Are we gonna be fighting people? What's going on?
One note on that.
Also we learn that the real Shingeki no Kyojin was
inside us all along.
Yeah, it was literally just that. Yeah,
I forgot. You know,
it is the title. Thank you, everybody who thought that anyways.
So
was right.
Some people had given us like cryptic hints, guys. The title might mean a little bit more than you think it means. Okay, so there's 9. Actually, I appreciate this explanation because this makes sense. I had wondered why aren't there more like sentient Titan people. I think that the reason for that is just because you can make as many mindless Titans as you want. That's fine. You just take an Eldian, inject some spinal blood, whatever. But there is a hard limit on 9 potential like conscious Titans at any time. And you know, even if some die, like it'll be reincarnated. So there will always be 9 if you just wait a little bit.
So how many do we have currently?
We got Zeke, Beast. We got Colossal is now Bert. We got Attack with Colossal is Armin now. Attack is Eren. That cart thing appears to be sentient, so that thing as well.
Reiner.
Reiner as well.
Annie.
Oh, right. Annie too, female one.
Ymir.
They said Ymir's dead, though.
did they?
Ymir said in her letter to Krista that I have very little time left to live. She did the little shocky thing, and we saw a scene of Ymir chained up in like a sacrificial thing, just like Eren. So I think it's not a stretch to say Ymir might have reached the end of a rope. That seems to be what that's implying.
Maybe so.
But I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. Well, I don't know why she would die, except that they do add this additional note of, incidentally, if you become one of these Titan shifter people, you have 13 years to live from that point.
Right, that's oddly specific.
It is oddly specific, but as long as it's applied, they call it the curse of Ymir, they say. It makes me wonder if this is why Ymir would be dead, if anything. But for the record, she has been alive for like 100 years or like some large amount of time.
She wasn't abnormal for most of that, though.
Yeah, you're right. So just doing the math, she ate that friend of Reiner's and became an awakened Titan person like fairly recently, like maybe more than 5 years ago. Not 13 years ago though. So that's not why she would be dead. I wouldn't think. I don't know. I'm sure they're gonna go into Ymir's fate in more detail as time goes on. And the major other element I wanted to mention as we're getting to the ocean is, by the way, a year has passed. And like all the Titans around in Wall Maria have been cleared out. They've recovered that land.
Yeah.
And now for the first time, they can actually go beyond the wall. So we're making huge progress here.
Yeah.
But on the way, as they're riding out to the ocean finally, it's Eren's mindset that has become a very interesting a point of discussion. Because Eren learning this stuff about his dad, about like the fact that the Eldians are like an oppressed race, but also a danger to the world. Eren's now thinking, okay, my goal was always to get to the next horizon, get to the ocean ultimately. And I was like, oh my God, the whole world awaits that. But now Eren has realized, beyond the ocean, if all this information is true, lies like only enemies. And by the way, on the way there, they encounter a Titan, and this man, seeing the Titan, is like, this is one of our family members. Like, this is a subject of Ymir, just like us. Let's, just for once, let's not attack on Titan.
No,
and they let it live.
And the other guy's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think intentionally so, to show Eren's change of attitude here. Eren is developing a certain amount of empathy for Titans, if you can believe it.
Dangerous.
Empathy is a dangerous thing. And when they get to the ocean, Eren looks out and says, beyond the ocean, there are enemies. If we kill them all, will then we be truly free? This is a dangerous line of thinking for a man to be undertaking. I famously once said on this show years ago that Eren was a murder machine, that he was a mass genocider, the likes of which we only talk about in heroic tales of old. I hope he doesn't use those powers for ill, but I guess we're gonna find out. Is he gonna like grab Historia, control all Titans,
and eat all people,
or do some fucked up shit? Because I mean, this is the debate, right? We've arrived squarely in I think what's going to be the main debate point that might not have been even intended from the start, but now is the focus of Attack on Titan. Like, is what's being done to the Eldians like reasonable? Just does it make sense? Because the king who founded this country like 100 years ago or whatever, he was willing to like accept this compromise. Okay, we Eldians will live within the walls, just don't attack us. We're gonna do our best. Eren's not satisfied.
If you do
with
attack
that.
us, we'll release the thousands of Titans inside the walls.
Oh right, he made a very explicit threat that if you fuck with us, we will march our asses outside and just fucking kill everybody. So just leave us alone. But there's this like curse of the king, or this like will of the king that inhabits any royal who gets the power. Oh, so actually, oh my God, brain blast. If for example, what's his face? God damn it, motherfucking Zeke. If Zeke were to eat Eren right now, I think it's reasonable to assume he would inherit that like curse of the king, and he'd become a pacifist. But my boy Eren has found a loophole.
Yeah.
If he just touches a royal, he will not be infected by the curse, and he has options on the table.
Yeah.
So what's that going to look like?
Pacifism's probably the opposite of the one he's going to choose, I'm going to bet.
If there's one thing that the Attack Titan is not known for, I would call it defense. This idea of it being, we didn't even mention this guy, the Owl. The owl was the guy, well, we mentioned him briefly, but he's the guy who, when Grisha was going to be pushed over the walls, he just explained everything to him. Bro, here's the deal. By the way, he was the one who beat the shit out of him as a child and watches his partner, like, murdered his daughter. Because he had to do it to stay undercover. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So this guy was the last Attack Titan. He tells Grisha, here's the plan, bro. This is why Grisha knew that he needed to go in, get the Founding Titan, bring that shit out here so that we can use the power to set our fucking people free. This was Owl's goal. I think, and that guy, what was his name? Eren Kruger. My boy Eren here, I'm feeling some inherited will is going on in the air.
Very much so. Maybe even the will of D.
Oh, shit. D's nuts, I'd have to say. That wasn't funny. Anyway, what is funny is what's about to go down in Attack on Titan, if my predictions are at all correct.
What's also funny is how we managed to make a whole bonus episode just about the Attack on Titan Junior High specials, and you can watch that. It's already out on our Subscribe Star for $10, and you will also have access to all the 6 other bonus episodes that already exist. This is the end of Titan Week.
This is, and what else is funny is how they could survive Titan Week by buying a shirt.
It's true.
I'm gonna say
you
it's
could have
limited.
survived if you bought this shirt.
If only you bought it.
If you didn't, you're probably dead.
I'll give you this. If you buy it right now and it's in the mail by the time you finish this episode, that might spare you from getting stomped.
You gotta pause real quick. So you got like 30 seconds.
But I'm gonna say it's limited edition, but I don't know if that's true because it might just be available forever.
We have no idea. We'll never know ever.
But you've only got 13 seconds to decide, or your mother will also die in her sleep tonight. That's the real curse of
Make
Ymir.
sure you're here when we come back for season 4.
That's the curse of Titan Week. The curse of Titan Week is you have to buy a shirt or your mother will die in her sleep tonight if you don't buy it in 13 seconds.
No!
Oh, no. I'm sorry. It's the ancient power of the Titans in the air. It's bearing down all of us.
No!
Subjects of Ymir, walk free with us, with your lovely shirt. That's it, everybody. Titan Week is over. Did you expect the amount of fucking bullshit that happened in season 3 of Titan? Are you floored? Are you blown away?
Yeah, I'm about there.
I agree. We'll see you in like 5 days with the next episode of Attack on Titan
fucking shit.
in season 4 when we charge into it. We're yourself I survived
Shingeki
Titan Week.
Watching the show.
All right, we'll see you there, everybody. Twitter, follow us there. Discord, talk with people about Titan Week and other cool shit. Send in a KHANTENT clip of you stomping innocent human beings. Or don't. See you soon. Bye-bye.